People, deluded, I'm back again. A number of Arsenal young players are out on loan, so please allow me to speak about how they got on. Now, I believe there's a lot of midweek action, so by the time this video comes out, they would have played again, in which next review I'll speak about. Doing this again is quite annoying because my memory card got corrupted. I did this yesterday, people. I've gone to upload it and a number of videos are mashed up, so I have to do it again. But you know me, I like to watch youth football, but for me, I also feel as much as I want all of these players to make it at Arsenal, to stay at Arsenal, football's a numbers game, people. You know, these players, especially the ones at Arsenal on loan, or they're the only ones in question, they've got to look at everything they're doing without emotion. I know they probably love the club. I do too. You know, they're fond of what they're doing. You know, Arsenal, first-class facilities, everything. It's got a shine to it. I'm an Arsenal player. But you can't allow that to gas you, because in a couple of years from now, you know, you're not going to put yourself in the best position. If we look at these centre-halves, I'm a big fan of all of these players on loan. I think Ballard could have a future. I like Zach Medley. He's very composed. McGuinness, solid, puts his body on the line, for example. Harry Clark, good loan, deserved the loan, you know. He's been moving good for the last year and a half at under 23s level. Like all of them. But that's a numbers game, you know. They're fighting amongst themselves to prove that they're the best candidate to, if ever required, for instance, to move up to first team. For instance, we have a crisis right now. They're also fighting against it as well, because there's 8 centre-halves on the books at first team level. Yes, people might move on, there's contracts running out and stuff, but the landscape is uncertain. So if I'm a young centre-half, for example, and I'm seeing all of this, I want to make it at Arsenal. I've got to do everything I can to make it at Arsenal. I badly want to play at the Emirates, be a first-team player, follow on what Nelson, Emil, Eddie and Saka, the flag bearer, all were doing, Maitland-Niles, all in the first team. But it's a numbers game. I've got to do what I can do so that if this doesn't happen, I've got a solid grounding, and that's why I advocate going out on loan, people. I don't feel every player needs to go out on loan. I don't feel there's a reason to, you know, you've got to pick the right club and the philosophy. You can't just make a loan move for the sake of it. You see a lot of young players do it, especially the more technical ones, and then we act surprised when it hasn't worked out. When they're used to playing 4-3-3, they're going and playing 4-4-2. The manager shifted them left wing, telling them to track back. It's a good learning experience, but you're hardly going to excel, and then your confidence is shot. You ain't really developed. There's no substitute for first team minutes. Minutes are currency, you know. Like I said, you've got to pick the right moves. And I'm a fan of under 23s football, but honestly, if I was a young boy, let's say I'm 16, you know, 16 realistically, unless you're Bukayo Saka and that, you're not going to get 23s appearances, but that's the ambition. By the time I'm 18, I'm trying to leave under 23s, under 18s level before, like when I'm 17, trying to be playing 23s. By the time I'm 18, I'm trying to be involved in the first team. Them ones there, you know, where you're in part of the first team, you might play for the 23s to keep fit. If I can't do that, by the time I'm 18, like the bit turning 19, I'm trying to get out of there, car. You know, when you play for these Arsenals, for these Uniteds, definitely for City and Chelsea, you're beating up every team. You know, you're not learning. You know, Medley's probably learnt more in this opening period on loan at Gillingham, whether they've won, lost or drawn, than he ever did at Arsenal, because mistakes are punished. Mistakes are punished with your team losing, with your teammates getting onto you, with that feeling of regret, losing your spot in the first team. Like Medley at a time, you know, he started off well, he lost his space, and now he's playing even better because I don't want to lose it again. And it's all of that, you know, you have to deal with a lot psychologically. Like Trey Coyle's loan started off well and it still is going well, but he's having to remain patient for his first team minutes, in a sense of starting and whatnot. Either way, I think it's the best decision all these young lads done. But enough waffling, man. Daniel Ballard, another game, another man of the match performance. You know, in his last game for Blackpool, it was, you know, they lost. There were 10 men, but he got man of the match, and it wasn't in ideal circumstances to make your debut. He picked up where he left off against MK Dons. They won 1-0, but if you watch the game or even the highlights, very composed in the tackle, very at ease in possession, as you would expect with someone from Arsenal. Didn't panic, showed his passing range. And again, it's about putting yourself in the shop window. He's someone I would like to get a chance, you know, because you never know with these players, you know, he's advanced at international level. But for me, what he's doing is putting himself in the shop window. I don't think a number of these boys, what it is obviously Arsenal are hoping they make it. Some of them will come and play 23s, you know, for no reason next year, even though they've had a taste. But you don't want to. The players that are really developing, you don't want to come back and play 23s. When you're playing week in, week out, fair enough, not in front of fans, but week in, week out, trying to stay in divisions, and that, it's not going to happen. So for a number of these young players, I'm going to be honest, it appears, you know, and it's in an ideal world, you're putting yourself in the shop window. Arsenal are trying to get fees, you're trying to develop, and for someone like Ballard, I'm not saying that's the case, but, you know, you go out there, you've had 2 man of the match performances, he's a very modern, you know, very old school defender, puts his heart on the line, you know, will put his head in mad places, very brave, and you can tell he's an Arsenal man. He can bring it out, he's composed. When you've got that, You know, when you got the right mix of being the old school blood and guts and you can play ball, and you've then gone out and got a loan move and you've got some experience, you might not be the most, but you've got, you know, let's say in an ideal world, a 20-something plus appearances. You've given yourself a solid grounding at 20, 21 years of age. So when Blackpool say, all right, you know what, Arsenal will take him off you permanently, or some other teams will say, all right, mate, we've been getting onto his agent, mate, we've been watching your client fella all season, we want to take him. You know, we'll give you more wages, you can get a better signing on fee with us. Or a championship team might say, oh, fucking hell, that Daniel Ballard, I can't believe you're not getting a look in at Arsenal. You know what? You're coming and playing championship. And I'm sure he'll relish that, you know. And again, it's just about progression, you know. You don't want to go back to playing 23s football. You don't want to. So it was a good thing from Daniel Ballard. And again, his stock is rising. I didn't watch this. Again, I'm not watching Irish football, but Joseph Olewu played the whole of Cork's 2-1 defeat to Selingo Rovers. Apparently with that they've now been relegated to the second tier. So again, another defender who, you know, doesn't sound like the most enjoyable of loan spells, but you're going to learn a lot, you know, playing week in, week out. They've sadly lost a battle of staying in whatever league, you know, but that's it. That's better than playing 23s. Now I'm not going to lie, it would... watching Arsenal's 23s week in, week out myself, of course, all of these players, if they were in the Arsenal's first 23s, we wouldn't have had a slow start to the season. We might have had a better start. But what does that help? Yeah, we might win the under 23s title or some other trophies, but how does that help them? We have to do this season for what can help them and set them up for the rest of their careers. In fact, better yet, they have to, you know. And it's all about, you know, it's all about development. Some men are going to have ups, some men are going to have downs, some men are going to start poorly and then end strong and vice versa. Either way, all of these lads are going to return to Arsenal next season more developed and refreshed and better players, really and truly, you know, better players, really. You know, Talaji Bowler played for Rochdale. They lost. They won 2-1. Sorry, against Shrewsbury Town. He actually looked alright and barely put a foot wrong. But again, another bit of experience. I think what he needs to improve is his anticipation, and for me, his heading. And he's definitely going to use that, learn that. Apologies in League One, and I think that was shown in the game. Elev, who it would have been nice for them to play each other, you know, he started off well at Shrewsbury Town, was an unused substitute in the game. Zach Medley got 90 minutes as Gillingham lost 2-0 to Fleetwood Town. If you watch the highlights or watch the game, there was, you know, Medley made a couple of very vital tackles. In fact, there was one literally, that man the opposition man pulls the trigger, it's a goal, and he flew his body like all 6'7", either, you know, 6'7" plus, either he's a big you, and he threw it all, like he got down quickly, threw his whole body in the way. It was fantastic. It was a fantastic little moment, you know. If I was Medley, I'm clipping that up and putting it on Instagram. And he showed his passing, but again, the goals they conceded were terrible. Like the last goal, they're stopping and kind of moaning with the ref. Like it was just a terrible game, and I think in that regards for them, defensively they let themselves down, but it could have went either way, you know. I don't think Gillingham took their chances. I feel they had a lot of chances early on. Forgive me if I'm wrong, but was it not James Vaughan that played as well? I'm sure that was the Everton lad up front, former wonder kid. And again, that's a good experience for Medley, because when are you playing against someone that's been around the block, someone that's played in the Premier League in 23s? Occasionally, you might play a team where the first team manager's not playing them to keep him fit, but 9 times out of 10, you're playing the same peers that you've been playing for years, you know. So it was a good experience. It was a good experience for him. Apologies, I'm thinking of another game, people, because that was Fleetwood Town, but the guy did look like James Vaughan. Let me see who actually scored. James Vaughan, because it looked like some light-skinned guy that scored, people. Yeah, he's at Tranmere. Sorry, yeah, Vaughan did score. I'm thinking of another game, people. Apologies. Somebody played against Tranmere. I've got my notes here. So Vaughan did score, but Vaughan is irrelevant from that. But either way, Medley got 90 minutes. For Trey Coyle, as I said earlier, it's getting a bit frustrated. He must be a bit frustrated. You know, he came on and got 5 odd minutes. But again, you know, it's the manager's decisions. You've got to respect that. And again, it's going to help them grow, because all he can do is put in performances on the training ground to convince his manager to play him. And I believe in Trey Coyle quite a lot, and he's got a lot of qualities, and I think he can give a good account of himself on loan. But it was a tough one for both men. You know, their team lost against Fleetwood. Apologies for mixing that up. Tranmere did play one of our players, people. One young player did play against Tranmere. I'm trying to find it on my notes. Harry Clark played against Port Vale. Sorry, need some water, people. That got caught there. Apologies. Trapped wind. Apologies. But Harry Clark got a full 90 minutes as Oldham lost, obviously, to Port Vale. Again, he barely put a foot wrong, but I felt looking at the highlights, you know, I think they look poor defensively. Just looking at the extended highlights and I've watched the first 45 minutes. They were standing off Port Vale way too much, you know. They weren't closing people down. They're inviting people near their semicircle to shoot. You're always going to lose. And they did look a bit like headless chickens. But again, Harry Clark did what he could. You know, he did find it tough 1v1 on occasion. But it is what it is in that regards, people. Ben Shafe, terrible game. For everybody had a terrible game, you know. He had a tough day in the middle of the park. He was second best to a lot, but so was the whole team, you know. The Coventry got slaughtered 4-0 to Blackburn, people, you know. They went down to 10 men as well, and it was difficult for them, people, you know. It was difficult. It's never nice. Nobody plays well if you lose 4-0. And again, it's all about the education. Cardiff conceded a poor goal from a set piece, but it's beneficial for, it's of relevance because Jordan Osei-Tutu played 60-odd minutes for Cardiff. Obviously, they drew 1-1 against Middlesbrough. And again, he's someone I expect to actually get a permanent move either in January or at the end of the season. I think Cardiff will take him permanently, you know. For me, if off the top of my head, I think he'll get a move. I think Shafe will get a move because there's already a buy option. Ballard will definitely have interest and have a difficult decision to make. Does he stay at Arsenal and try and make it, or does he move on? You know, McGuinness could as well, but they're the names I said first. Matt Smith as well, for sure, people. And on the topic of Matt Smith, in fact, before that, people, I finally found the notes of the player that played against Tranmere Rovers when James Vaughan scored. Southend lost 2-0. That's of relevance because Oli Inca played. Now, welcome to hell really was what I got from seeing the footage of that game, people, because Southend was second best. You know, James Oli Inca to a degree did well but looked overawed. There was one of the goals I think he could have closed down and been a bit stronger, as could several of his teammates. It was a poor sequence, but again, you know, he's someone I expect to improve. You know, it's his first game. The whole team was poor as a whole. But he's someone with experience, having been at Northampton, so I think he'll do the business. But he got 68 minutes as Southend lost 2-0 to Tranmere Rovers. James Vaughan scored. Matt Smith again, you know, when I think of consistency, I think of Matt Smith. He's shown that at youth level. And again, there's always that question, can you do it at first team level? Now, the Premier League's a different ballgame, but the questions he's been asked is, can you do it at League One? And whether they've won, lost or drawn, you've seen consistency. First and foremost, you know, again, another example of marrying the Arsenal way, because he puts himself around, he's on the tackling, he's energetic, you know, but he's got that with fantastic qualities. He's good in possession, he can carry a ball, he's got a good passing range, you know, and he done well yet again, people. But sadly, they lost 2-1 to Northampton, and his team aren't doing too good. That's their 4th defeat in a row, people. So they're going to have to pull themselves out, and you could probably bet there must be question marks over the management. Like I said, he drove forward and tried to distribute the ball as good as he could. If you watch the highlights again, I'm sure it will show that, you know, he had a fantastic chance to work the keeper and he should have done better. So that's where he could have done well. But for me, he's someone, again, you know, he's going to have a difficult decision to make when he returns to Arsenal. Does he try and break through in central midfield, or does he move on? And I think, you know, League One Championship clubs, they will be monitoring him, you know. So it's a decision to make for him, people. Zach Swanson, again, I'm not watching Dutch League, people, but apparently he came on in the 72nd minute as his team lost 5-1 to Ajax's second side. Mark McGuinness didn't play for Ipswich Town, people. Torreira was sent off. Well, man said sent off. He was taken off at half time as Betis as Betis were beaten 2-0 by Atletico. As you lot already know, John Jules is injured and is actually temporarily back at Arsenal with treatment. Guendouzi's still nursing his way back to full fitness from Corona, so he wasn't involved for his team. Mavropanos is injured, and I've actually should be doing a video. He's going to be out for 3 to 5 weeks, which with that meniscus tear or whatever it is, and it's not as bad as expected, but it is going to have to make him sit down on his hands and whatnot for a couple of weeks. But what can I say, people? It's a mixed period, and I enjoy seeing our young players, because the ones that you think are going to make it are not necessarily the ones that will. Someone you don't necessarily rate does it. You know, all I believe is that these young players should go out on loan, and, you know, will all return in August or when May comes and they end the season and they go on holiday, and they have that moment to sink in, and they compare how they was now to a year ago or a year prior to going out on loan. I think they won't regret it. You know, whether it happens for you, you know, obviously the main bit of going out on loan is to get first team minutes. You know, you don't play too tough. There's always going to be frustration, but you learn a lot. You're out of your comfort zone. You know, some players at Arsenal, you know, could afford to not be at it week in, week out, especially the attacking players. You're not at it for 1 week or for 10 minutes in a first team game in League One. Man haven't got time for you because they're trying to stay in the league. So I think there's a learning curve everywhere, whether players are being successful right now or if they're facing, you know, certain not negative moments but tough periods. You know, if you're not challenged, you're not evolving as a person, and it's about getting out of your comfort zone. And I'm happy to see that, and I hope they all have successful loans, because you know our players going out on loan has been a bit mixed, and we've got a loan manager. And again, you know, have we picked teams better? Because Eddie went out on loan. Now, he learned a lot out of Leeds, clearly under BL, so he came back stronger. He came back tactically smarter, in my opinion, and better, you know, definitely physically stronger, and his movements were more intelligent. But in terms of playing first team minutes, he didn't get too much. So can we learn from what persuaded us to say Leeds were the guys? What potential warning signs were there not to send him to Leeds? And can we put in better practice to ensure we don't do these things again, or we better pick loan spells so that ultimately our players can have better loans? It's, you know, it's in our best interest for everybody to have a great loan, because Arsenal could collect a few couple thousands and millions, you know. Ballard, can you get 500k, a million? Again, Shafe, can you get a couple thousand to a mil, you know? You know, you imagine the fee. Again, they're not going to set the world alight, but considering Greenwood, I know Greenwood's got a lot of potential, but he never kicked a ball for Arsenal's first team, and he went for a couple of million, you know. Ben Shave, you know, off the top of my head, players that if I was literally, unless Arteta or Arsenal tell me you're going to feature me next season in the plans, or I can force my way, you know, the following names I think should be looking to move on. You know, Matt Smith definitely needs to play first team minutes. You know, Daniel Ballard definitely needs to be thinking about stuff in particular. Ben Shave, you know, Osei Tutu, you know, 4 players off the top of my head. You know, how much money could that bring in? Every penny somewhat counts, and that's the main goal of our academy. Correct me if I'm wrong. Produce players for the first team, and ones that can't, move them on, make a profit, and ensure we've done everything we can so that they go off and have a good career, and it further keeps the Arsenal brand and name in good stead. But I'll be here to speak about these players again, people. You know, I love watching our youth players. I love doing what I can, and if I can't watch the 90 minutes, it's a highlights thing, and I just like to watch the progress of our players, and I know a lot of you like to follow them, so in my own little way, hopefully I've provided you some quality. On that note though, people, Deluded, I'm out. It's always a pleasure. People, Deluded, I'm back again. As you lot can clearly see, in the football calendar at all levels, the games are coming thick and fast. And for our young players out on loan in League 1 and League 2, it's also the same can be said for them. They've all played on, well, you know, we've spoken about their game time over the weekend. And if you haven't, at the end of this actual video, the next one will start, because I didn't bring out the other loan report purely because I thought it would be a bit hectic for you lot. But, you know, what happened on the weekend is for the weekend, so we might as well review how some players got on yesterday, which is Tuesday. Anybody playing today, I'm going to have to miss you out. I apologise for that, and I'll catch you on the rebound when I speak about in the next loan report. But in relation to Mark McGuinness and Zach Medley, 2 centre-halves, you know, not directly fighting against each other, but fighting against each other. They're all the centre-halves at our club. You know, you got Ballard, you got Medley, you know, you got McGuinness, you know, I'm missing somebody else out. They'll come to me as this video keeps going on. But everybody's fighting at 23's level to prove they're the one that should be given an opportunity, if any. We've also got an unclear pathway in the first team, because there's a lot of centre-halves on our books at first team. We know some contracts are running out and certain things can be said in that regards. But, you know, they've all got to show that they can have a future in the game, either at Arsenal or elsewhere. And I think Medley's having a good loan spell at Gillingham. He's learning a lot. McGuinness, you know, he's finally broken into the Ipswich team. He got his first start. And he also got to win, people. You know, a long-range finish from Ipswich sealed the day. You know, for Mark McGuinness, it's a winning sort of debut thing. You know, good first start, first win, clean sheet. You can't get more than that as a young defender to give you some confidence. For Medley, I think Medley played convincing. He was smart with his passing. Couple nervy moments, but he was smart with his passing. He was firm in the tackle. He's just getting better and better and more confident game by game, and learning when to play and when to distribute. I don't think it was his fault when they conceded, so I can't ask for any more. Trey Coyle, who's of late has been struggling for game time or significant minutes, didn't play a part in this. But, you know, Mark McGuinness and Medley played each other, maybe not directly because they're both defenders, but the teams faced off. And, you know, Ipswich won 1-0. So what more could you say, people? For Ben Shafe, you know, it's not getting any better for Coventry. You know, they lost. You know, they conceded 2 goals in the last 15 minutes as they lost to Middlesbrough. They had a heavy defeat on the weekend. They've now conceded again. I don't think he was that bad of a player in terms of the performance. He passed the ball when he could, you know, and whatnot. But the team did struggle, and you can see Coventry, you know, the players are battered in terms of their confidence, and this is what you have to learn. And you get, I guess, the ground probably wants to be, you know, the number of these players want the ground to swallow them whole, really, because it's never nice when you keep losing and these things. Like in the last 2 games, forgive me if I'm wrong, they've conceded 6 goals. That's never nice. But for Ben, you know, every game makes you stronger. You know, every full first team men's sort of football minutes you get is going to bring you closer to being a more complete player, and these tough moments is what you learn from. You know, you might get battered at 23's level, but do you necessarily learn from that? Who knows? Ballard played for Rochdale, you know, 21-year-old now, again needs to go and get first team football. He played for Rochdale in their 2-2 draw against Sunderland, I believe. I've only seen the highlights, people, but again, you know, more minutes, more conviction in your play. Tom Smith, who's on loan at Dover, made his league debut and won 3-2 in the Dover versus Eastleigh game. And again, there was another, you know, direct head-to-head in terms of Arsenal players, because James Olayinka of Southend played against Harry Clark of Oldham. Now James got 82 minutes, Harry got 90 minutes. As you lot saw, it was 1-1. It was a lovely free kick from Clifford from Southend, you know, based on the highlights. Lovely free kick, and obviously Oldham got themselves back in the game. I don't think Harry put a foot wrong directly. I think James tried his best as well. So again, you know, I can only go on the highlights of that game, and the biggest highlight I can go off is the free kick. It was a lovely free kick from Southend's Clifford, I believe. So yeah, man. You know, for Harry, you know, he's got another start. You just want to keep building and building. And like I said, and that's the name I was actually speaking of, you know, for the centre-halves in particular, they've all got to be selfish, because, you know, they all should believe they can have a chance. You know, we'll get on to Daniel Ballard, but Ballard's done well on loan. Harry Clark's had a good sort of period last 18 months at 23s, and hopefully he picks up where he left off in the men's game, where he left 23s. We all know McGuinness is a decent centre-half, and Medley, you know, seems to be, out of all of them, I'd say probably the one most ahead in the pecking order based on senior appearances. But they're all fighting each other. There's a melting pot. And like I said, if I'm any one of those players, I'm saying to myself, listen, every hope that I can make it at Arsenal. With all due respect to my teammates, I believe, like, if I'm Medley, I believe I'm better than everyone. If I'm McGuinness, I'm better than anyone. In a humble way. Ballard, you get it. Clark, the same. But at the same time, I need to play well, put myself in the shop window. As much as I like Arsenal, and, you know, the facilities are great, and it has a nice ring to it saying I'm an Arsenal player, you know, I need to make progress, sort of thing. I've had my education at Arsenal. I'm doing what I can at loan. You know, can I convince League 1, League 2 clubs to take me permanently? Can I even convince Championship clubs? Who knows? Maybe even Premier League. You never know who is watching and who is scouting. You know, so put yourself in the shop window. Put yourself in the window for Arteta or Arsenal staff, because they're going to have to bring back coaching reports and scouting reports. Make it so that, you know, people that make the decisions in relation to the senior level have no choice but to see what all the hype's around, because they're sick to death of hearing your name. If that can't be done, like I said, you know, make these scouts who are scouting players all year, or team, because, you know, we're going to see movement in January and next summer, but man are not just saying we're going to sign these players one day and then going for others. There's people scouting. So can you do a thing where scouts are putting you potentially on their targets? There might be a Championship club saying, boy, you know, Matt Smith, he's playing very well at Swindon. The pathway at Arsenal seems to be quite congested. Can we bring him in, sort of thing? He's got the experience and he's got the Arsenal education. Let's take a chance on the lad. So we have to see. Now again, you know, Daniel Ballard, you know, he came on against Charlton and they lost, and he got man of the match. He also got man of the match in Blackpool's last game. You know, he can't ask for more. But it's about consistency, and it was a, you know, Blackpool lost to Wimbledon. I think they had 2 men sent off based on the highlights. Ballard got sent off for an off the field incident, and someone else got sent off. Based on the highlights and extended footage available to me, and based on reports I read, it seems like he had, up until that point, he was playing okay, but the team was just a mess. Everyone was second best all over the place. And for Ballard, it's a shame, because, you know, not that the last 2 games are irrelevant. He's had a flashpoint. You've been sent off. You've got to learn to control it and not get rattled. You know, you can learn from that, you know, but it's a sense of, you know, you've started off well. You came off the bench in your first appearance, man of the match. Your first start, man of the match, and you've let yourself down with an off-field incident. confidence. So, you know, and he has to sit out the next game or so. I don't even know if I can't remember if it was a straight red or second yellow. I believe it was a straight red. So he'll have to sit out the next couple of games, and that's harming his development. But all of these things are going to make you more of an all-rounded individual. I personally think Ballard is going to have a successful Arsenal career. Career as a footballer. I'd love it to happen at Arsenal. I think he's one of those that is genuinely going to get a move because people are probably looking at him. You know, he's played for his country now. You know, he's playing in League One. People are probably going to take a chance on him, really and truly. And for me, if I was him, I'd relish that because it's the chance forthcoming at Arsenal at 20, 21 years of age. It might be, it might not. You're still young, but at the same time, man need to play. So Ballard let himself down. He got sent off, people, against Wimbledon in their 1-0 defeat, but they have to hold it up, people. In relation to other games potentially being played, like as today, which will be included in my next one. Let's see League One fixtures. Oh, there's none until Saturday. Obviously, John Jules didn't play against Plymouth for his club Doncaster as he's still nursing a way back from injury. Iliev, our keeper, didn't play for Shrewsbury Town either. So yeah, man, that's it. I think everybody's back in action in League One on Saturday, so it is what it is. And if you're in League Two, I guess the same. So in relation to the midweek loan report, we're out now, people. There's nothing more to add. I'd love to hear your opinions because I've actually, weirdly enough, I've been speaking to fans. I like to speak to fans of these clubs, these players right long, because they're looking at them without emotion. They're just seeing a brand new player, and unlike me, you know, in a healthy way, they don't care what he's done at Arsenal. They care about what you can do in a Gillingham shirt or in a Swindon shirt or, you know, in a Shrewsbury Town shirt or a Doncaster shirt for Tyrese, John Jules and whatnot. So I've had some interesting conversations with journalists, with some fans and fan channels, and just fans of these clubs in general that are watching week in, week out, and it's interesting to get their opinions, people, and see it from a different perspective. But like I said, man, that's it for the midweek talk. And you know, if you haven't had enough of me by this time, the next video would start. It's sandwiched into one, so yeah, there's another 10 or so minutes from, man. If you've got through that, then obviously, people, check out the other content. Make sure you like, comment and subscribe. Definitely don't get away without liking the vid. On that note though, DG.